minutes. And, you know, it's the kind of game that we know that whether we're in front or behind, there's going to be chaos in the game. You know, as time's gone by, I've learned a lot about them. I have no love for them. Obviously, Maradona's somebody that's done some amazing things that I've seen, but it's a team that we have to beat, and it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a real tough one. You know, a real attritional war we're going into, and we have to recognise that. I've heard Thomas Tuchel saying it's just the game. It's not just the game. And they'll realise it's not just the game. It's going to be more than that when they're playing.
But they don't know when they're beaten, Gary. They've shown that every single time.
Similar to us. Look, they've got an incredible energy about them. And I say this in a positive sense, a horribleness that is very difficult to get past. We're going to have to suffer tomorrow in that football match. I do think we've got a manager and a captain there that you've just seen speak, and you belong in these types of games. You've got great experience and won't let it affect them. They've got to deal with the presence and the aura of Messi. You're out there on the pitch with that guy just wandering around, knowing that he can sort of come to life at any minute. So there's a lot of things to contend with. But I think we can win. I do think we can win. And look, it's going to be a real struggle.
Let's go to neutral corner. What do you think, Roy?
I think it'll be obviously an amazing game. I think both teams, particularly for England, you definitely have to bring your quality. You have to play on the edge. You have to keep your discipline. You have to bring physicality. Obviously, on the other side of it, there'll be a lot of emotions involved for lots of different reasons. So, yeah, I think it's set up for a cracker.
But England need to be streetwise. Whatever other word you want to use, they need that, don't they?
Well, you say calm, obviously you don't want to do anything silly, but don't be too calm.
Yeah.
It's a game of football, it's emotion, but just play on the edge. Don't do anything too daft.
I think we've got the physicality for them as well. I think we can match them. Obviously, you want to make sure that someone like Jude, because they will probably target someone like Jude, because he's our main guy, so they want to get our main guy out of it. But from a physical point of view, I think we can deal with it.
He should enjoy that, Righty.
Absolutely.
He's 6'1", 6'2". If people coming after you, we used to have a couple of battles. Patrick was a good one at kicking me every now and again. But that's a part of the game.
Sure.
Bring that physicality, it's part of the game.
It's a narrow precipice to walk along, to be on the edge, to hit somebody hard, and yet be calm enough not to get sent off.
Yeah, we've got to keep discipline. We've got some examples of that in the last 20, 30 years for England where we've lost discipline and that's cost us. But what I would say is ordinarily before a match, you wouldn't want an open game. I actually think we need an open game. We've got quicker players than them. We've got more speed.
Our width, Gary, our width.
We've got better width and we've got higher energy. So let's try and play to our strengths. Make it an open game.
They won't want that, will they?
No, absolutely.
So, I'm just remembering your description of the centre-halves of Argentina. The best, worst centre-halves in the tournament. From England's point of view, they better be the worst ones tomorrow.
It's a compliment because they're capable of winning the match for them, but they do make mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So England now know who they will face if they beat Argentina in the World Cup semi-final, and they trained for the final time in Kansas City before they set off to Atlanta, and there were plenty of positives to take from their final session. 25 out of the 26 players were on the grass. The only one missing was Jordan Henderson, who broke his arm after the Mexico game. Declan Rice trained and is fit to start tomorrow. Remember, he only played 45 minutes against Norway. He had a sickness bug in the lead-up to that game and spent 3 days in bed. Bukayo Saka has been dealing with an Achilles problem, but looked good when he came on against Norway. The Arsenal winger will be looking for a recall ahead of Noni Madueke. Harry Kane didn't have his best game against Norway. He'll be determined to score in his pursuit of the Golden Boot. He's on 6 goals and 2 behind Mbappe and Messi. Jude Bellingham became the first player to score 2 goals in back-to-back World Cup games since Pelé. What a tournament Bellingham is having. Will Thomas Tuchel stick with the same back four? Esri Konsa, John Stones, Mark Gay and Nico O'Reilly started last time out. Reece James looked sharp in training. James returned against Norway after recovering from a hamstring injury and is pushing to start against Argentina. Wimbledon is over, but it's a case of new balls, please, at the World Cup. New golden balls for the semi-final and final.
I think we are due to see a real performance from England at this World Cup. We've seen a lot of grit, we've seen a lot of determination, we've seen that their mentality has been right. When their backs have been up against the wall, they've managed to grind out results, but we haven't really seen free-flowing, great football, apart from a few spells in the opening game against Croatia. If they can bring their A game, then I don't want to tempt fate, but I would be pretty confident that we won't be talking about Lionel Messi tomorrow night.
England will come up against a familiar face in Liverpool's Alexis McAllister. He and his teammates have been training in Atlanta. Our reporter Gary Cottrell went along to see them.
We've been lucky enough to see Argentina train here at the Atlanta United FC training ground a little bit earlier, and loads of people were here to see the train. Of course they were, because of all the superstars on view. Cameras 3 or 4 deep, about, I would say, 200 to 300 cameramen, photographers, journalists in there of all nationalities, and some players did some brief interviews as well. And Alexis McAllister came to speak to where we were with the international media. We managed to get a couple of questions and answers in English. And first of all, he was asked whether or not it was actually an extra burden on Argentina, whether they actually had extra pressure on them because they'd been in a semi-final and a final last time in the World Cup, and there was greater expectation.
We don't feel any pressure, to be honest. We understand this is a World Cup, this is a semi-final, and we have the experience of playing a semi-final of a World Cup before, so that hopefully helps. But as I said, it's going to be a tough game because they're a really good team. We really respect them, and we will see today how it goes.
And I managed to get a question to him. It was a bit of fun, really. He only answered 4 questions in total, actually, so we were pretty lucky to get a question. And I referred him back to something he said in May when he was questioned by Jamie Redknapp, who went up to Liverpool to speak to him about all things, including about the World Cup and England's chances in the World Cup. Now, you're going to see what he said about England's chances in the World Cup, and then after that you'll see he's backtracking a little bit. Not quite an apology, but a clarification.
Spain, France are really strong, but I always feel like Argentina and Brazil have a chance. Even Brazil that is not in the best moment, I think with Ancelotti now, good players, so they have a chance. But for us, maybe it's well.
But you've not mentioned England. Come on, give us some hope.
You think you have a chance?
Well, I'm asking you. Blimey, have another coffee, please. Forget that, I'll have a whiskey.
So are you surprised they've got this far, and do you fancy them now?
No, not surprised. I understand what you're saying because it was an interview that Jamie was doing at Liverpool, and it was a bit of a joke because at the same time that I said that they were not going to be in this situation, I said that they have amazing players and a really good coach as well. So I'm not surprised. They have, as I said, very good players. They know what they are doing and they have a great idea. So we really respect them and we will try our best to win.
Of course, the reason why the vast majority of cameras are here, the vast majority of journalists here, why there were so many fans as well outside, all in their number 10 Messi shirt, was the fact that Lionel Messi was on view, looking really relaxed. He sat for quite a while before training, before most of the others came out, on a bench, taking in the sunshine, taking in the vibe of being in yet another semi-final. Another massive game for him, all that he's achieved. It means just as much to him, you can tell, as it's ever meant. And he is, of course, the one that all eyes will be on, not only at this training session, but in the stadium when they take on England. We've got our stars, of course. He's number 10. We've got an up-and-coming superstar in our number 10, Bellingham. But I've asked around all the Argentinian fans and a few of the Argentinian journalists and a couple of members of staff, and none of them would swap our number 10 for their number 10. Not sure England fans necessarily would agree.
Right, we're just over 24 hours away from England against Argentina in the semi-final of the World Cup. Our roving reporter Gary Cottrell watched Argentina train today. Well, we'll speak to him shortly. First, though, let's talk England with our chief correspondent Kaveh Solokol. Kaveh, great to see you. Right, we said at the top of the programme that Declan Rice is fit to play. Did he look 100% to you?
Well, it's hard to tell just from watching him in training, but what can be absolutely guaranteed is that Declan Rice is the kind of character who has the mentality to play through the pain if he needs to, and he's an absolutely key player for Thomas Tuchel. He is somebody who's an absolutely brilliant midfielder, probably one of the best in the world in his position, but he brings so much more, because he has exceptional leadership qualities on the pitch as well, and he's somebody who takes the vast majority of England's set pieces. So I think it's really, really important for England to have Declan Rice back in their starting 11 tomorrow. I know he hasn't been feeling well for a few days. Actually, quite a few people, fans and members of the media who travelled to Mexico City for the game against Mexico, came back not feeling great. They're all feeling much better over the last couple of days. Let's hope that Declan Rice is feeling much better too, because this is one of the biggest games in his life, and I think it's really important for England to have him in their starting 11.
Carve, it's one of the biggest games in all of our lives. That said, what are the selection issues facing Thomas Tuchel?
Well, I think he's got a few things to think about. He is somebody who doesn't tell his players what the starting 11 is going to be until a few hours before kick-off. So who knows? Maybe he hasn't made up his mind completely about who to go with tomorrow. But he's got a few things to think about. I think in the right back position, is Reece James fit to start? He came back against Norway after almost 3 weeks out with a hamstring problem. He played for around 40 minutes, 45 minutes against Norway, and he played really well, and I think he is by far the best right back England have in their squad. So if he's fit to play and start, that is a major boost for Thomas Tuchel, and that means that he has more options at centre-back, because he won't have to use somebody like Ezri Konsa as a right-back. So centre-back, I expect him to definitely start with Mark Guéhi, who's been outstanding lately, and then he's got to decide whether to go with John Stones or Ezri Konsa. I think that is a tough call. I think with John Stones you get more experience at this level, but you have to say Ezri Konsa has been playing really, really well, both at centre-back and right-back. We know the central midfield partnership will be Elliot Anderson and Declan Rice. We know that Harry Kane is going to play, Jude Bellingham is going to play. So the only other thing really for Thomas Tuchel to think about is the players he uses out wide. Personally, I think Anthony Gordon has done enough now to start ahead of Marcus Rashford. Then on the other wing, it becomes a little bit more complicated, because a lot of people are down on Noni Madueke, thinking that perhaps he hasn't done enough to warrant a place in the starting 11, complaining about the lack of end product you sometimes get from him. My personal opinion is that he's in the side to perform a specific role for Thomas Tuchel. He's not somebody who's going to play for 90 minutes, but he's asked to perform a specific role, and Thomas Tuchel is happy with what he's doing. Having said that, I think it's more likely that somebody like Bukayo Saka starts. If he was 100% fit, he definitely would be starting. There have also been some calls for Marcus Rashford to start on the right as well. That would be a surprise, because that's not something that Thomas Tuchel has done during this tournament. But the good news is that Thomas Tuchel has an almost fully, well, not fully fit squad, but an almost fit squad to choose from. The only players who are unavailable are Jordan Henderson and, of course, Jarell Quansah, who's suspended for this one.
Right, I know that you're going to speak to Thomas Tuchel a bit later in his news conference. What are you planning on throwing his way?
Well, the first thing is I need to get there early to get a seat in the front row and try and get a question, because it's going to be packed. There's going to be media from all around the world. There's going to be lots of journalists from Argentina there as well. I think you have to be a little bit careful in a news conference like this one, because it's the eve of a really, really big game. So I don't...
When they meet in Atlanta, so we know the first of the finalists of this World Cup. Tomorrow we will find out the second of them. Let's have a look at the second goal. Feels like we're picking a little bit on Digne, the fullback, doesn't it? But it's possible not for you to point out where he's gone wrong with his second goal as well.
Mark, you maybe have to look. Deschamps an incredible manager who's won amazing things, but you do have to look at why he didn't take him off earlier. He was really struggling at half-time, said that he was hanging on for dear life, and what you see in this second goal is the classic covering yourself, and you're basically going too wide towards your wide player because you don't want him to run at you. And
look at that, playing it from their own goalkeeper as well, Gary. They were so confident at this stage.
That's too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look how much space Olmo's got.
The midfield's, to be fair, non-existent, which is a problem, but the back four are in situ, they're in place. they're structurally okay at this point. Obviously, France do okay in this initial bit of defending. He reads that one. He heads it. He's got to get his legs back up again. He's working those legs. And then as you see him here now, he's frightened of Lamine Yamal getting the ball to his feet, so he goes up. Now he's going to get back in now. And he doesn't. He stays where he is.
But you know what, Gareth? When I see these goals, you see players make mistakes. And it's clearly a mistake. Again, maybe his confidence gone. He doesn't know what to stick or twist against really good wide players. But you expect your mates then to cover for you. You know, I think it happens all the time. Players do get caught out of position, but no one's helping each other. That's where they didn't play as a team.
No one's very alert to that, it seems.
That's why they didn't play as a team, because the whole part of being a football team is your mates cover you when you're having a bad time. You're never going to come to a game of football where everyone plays well. And obviously the attacking players of France are going to be criticised today. But the French defensive midfield were still all over the place. They weren't doing the basics right. So whatever about the attacking players not turning up, the team behind them didn't exactly give them a foundation to want to win the game.
When you look at the goal, I think Dean, of course, should do better. We're talking about somebody with the experience. But on the other side as well, I think Doué has a responsibility as well, because Porro played a 1-2 around him, and then he has to just be in front of him and to stop his run or to follow him. And I think we can blame Dean because of his tactical position, but Doué in this situation as well has to be more decisive and more defensive-minded.
But if you're expecting a young winger to stay with a 1-2, and that's your sort of last line of defence, you're asking for trouble, I think, anyway.
Yeah, but we are talking about somebody who won Champions League football.
I know, but he's
playing this level. So this defensive side, I think when you play against Spain, is different if you play against Morocco. So the quality of the opposition players is much better. So defensively, there's awareness that has to go to a different level.
Look, it's a lesson for Doué. I still would think an experienced fullback there, as he sees what's developing, he's got to tuck back in.
It's strange that we're saying it, but you look at the French team, they almost look, they lack confidence.
Yeah.
They lacked energy as well.
It looked like they were waiting. They were waiting for someone to do something.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what it felt like to me. Yeah.
Dembele.
Well, Dembele had one of the worst games I've ever seen him
We talked about Dembele. Obviously, we talked about Elise a lot. It was actually fair dues. Lamine Yamal, 19 yesterday. We said he'd had a quiet World Cup. He turned up, didn't he? How impressed were you with him today?
Very impressed. You know, because like you're wondering with the injuries that he's had, is the groin and the ankle. But like at no stage did he look like he was ever like holding on to him, like, oh, I'm not going to go past her. Every opportunity he had to try and go past, cut inside, whatever he's doing, he was doing it with real vigour. Like, look, he's trying to take on two players here. He really did show up today. He showed up.
And he injected the energy in the team, a bit like Roy was saying, France didn't have
he's the one that they need to do it. So you were wondering, has he got the pace to go past them with the injuries he's had? And he did. And he's the one that can take them out.
And the players behind him, Righty, when they know he's got the better of his play, they'll just keep giving it to him. You've got him, because you think the fullback knows, his teammates know. You go, just give him the ball. He'll get us up the pitch.
That was unlucky because the fractions in which he was offside there. Because you could see that he knew that he had Digne, and Digne knew that he had him, so he was petrified.
And everyone else did, Righty. That's my point. His teammates would have known. And they
gives you such a lift, doesn't it?
Of course, just keep giving it to him.
Rodri, Ruiz, Olmo, Pedri, Gavi off the bench. And we're not being wise after the event, but that is some midfield. I'm thinking about Spain, whoever they play in the final now.
Yeah,
they'll be able to keep the ball in the final, maybe in a way that their opponents might not be able to.
Now, listen, they were quite really impressive in possession. I think we were all aware about the quality on possession. But today, I think they really frustrated this French team. And then there was so much space between the line, or the French, when they were going to put pressure, they wasn't doing it collectively. So they play between the lines. And when you give them space with the quality that they have, they will hurt any team.
They won the game because they're out of possession today. We all love football. We love watching brilliant teams. It was a joy to watch. But you got to remind yourself what they do out of possession, and they got the rewards. They were outstanding. Their work rate. They worked in packs. Did intensity to their play, a purpose, almost the opposite to the French.
At no stage did they ease off, because they knew what could happen.
Absolutely. Well, we were waiting for the one goal and then the comeback. Well, it didn't happen. Spain very